Sweet. And we're live. I think we're live. Everything good? Okay. What is up, everybody? Jordan Anderson here. Welcome. $1 Million editors out there. Welcome. Happy that you're here. All right. So I just wrapped up a 45-minute webinar edit, and I did it in less than 10 days. So I kind of just want to go through, show you a little bit of behind the scenes of how I did it, kind of the process that I went through, and hopefully you can watch it, pick it up, find find some like little insights that can maybe help you if you're editing something like a long podcast, or if you're thinking about editing social media content or more marketing content, how it can kind of affect, how it can affect your edit. So, all right, let's see. Let me kind of like give you the structure of like what we're gonna do today, how we're gonna go through it. So the first half is we're just gonna do a basic walkthrough, kind of show you my like first 5 core steps that go into editing a video like this. We'll hop over into Premiere a little bit, and hopefully my computer won't crash in showing you this. I've got webcams and running Adobe at the same time. We'll see what happens. And yeah, I'll kind of show you like how I build this piece, go from just this was a 75-minute video, and then how do you crunch it down into a video with just a little bit of music, how to cut it down to just the best takes, all the way down into something where, now you have like layers and layers and layers of stuff that it makes it a much more very complicated edit towards the very end. So we're going to go through it step by step, piece by piece. Don't worry. And then at the very end, as you can see, we'll do Q&A. We have a couple people that submitted their questions so far. Thank you if you did that. If you submitted a question, awesome. Thank you. And there we go. Boom. And yeah, so we have people that submitted questions. And if you want to submit your question right now, you're watching live and you're chatting away, go for it. Drop it in the chat. We'll address it. We'll try to get through it. I think we're live. I think everything is running smoothly. Let me make sure that we're live here on Discord before we get into everything. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's recording live. All right, let me check YouTube though, because that's going to be the biggest piece. Before we get into it, if you're watching here on YouTube, let me know. Let me know if the chat is working before we get into step number 1. I think we're live. Let's believe that we're live. YouTube says we're good. Restream says we're good. All right, let's go into it. Okay, so for editing a piece like this, this was like I just said, it's a 45-minute webinar. It was, oh man, okay, 90 minutes of A-roll. I think I put 90, but I think it was actually 70, 75. A little exaggerated. And then I was working with 5 years of B-roll. So all the B-roll that I have shot and edited and created as a videographer for Samcart in the last 2 years, plus all the stuff that was made by freelancers in the past, plus all the stuff that's like Samcart archival footage way, way back, up to at least 5 years, 6 years. And then working with even like family photos, old stuff, tons of old stuff. We have a 14-day deadline. So today is like day 12. And I think we're going live on Thursday, if I recall. We did the main edit. This is cut 1. This is mostly the right cut, and it was done within 10 days. So we started on a Monday, went through that entire week 1, and then finished on week 2 at the end of that Friday. So I've had the weekend to kind of breathe, think about this edit. So just before before we're gonna dive into everything that's gone through it. Okay. So how do we start an edit like this, or how do we allocate our time, or how do you as a video editor allocate your time? This is a representation of how I allocate my time. This is how I think about my edits. This is where I put my time, and it kind of starts with this. So at the very bottom, the foundational piece is your A-roll. This is your foundational stuff. This is like the main script. So if you're watching me right now on this live stream, like this right here, this footage is the A-roll. This is the main stuff. So just getting that down, just getting all that content down. If it's a 75-minute video that I had to go through, so it's getting it down from, 5 minutes that it is here, all the way down into 45 minutes of good takes. No gaps, no silences, no bad takes, all this stuff. Gotta go. So that's where you spend most of your time. At least that's what I did. And that's what you should do. Next, on the second rung is kind of the second most important thing is your music. And with music, that means your pacing, the mood, how fast the video feels, how slow the video feels. With a video like this is a webinar. This is a 45-minute webinar. If you're not familiar with what a webinar is, it is a piece where, I kind of go back to right here. So it's a 45-minute webinar where, like I said, if you're not familiar with it, at the beginning, first 30 minutes or so are educational stuff. It's a free video that you kind of opt into as a customer and say, hey, if you want to learn about how to do XYZ, grow your business, sell online, create an online course, then watch this. We're going to share. We're going to show you some interesting stuff. And then towards the end of a webinar, they usually have some kind of sales pitch. They say like, hey, and by the way, if you do want to launch your own online course or whatever it may be, then we have the solution for you, or this is the software, or this is the app, or this is the product that you should buy. If this was like $1 million edit, it'd be like, I would walk you through like, here's how I make $1 million edit. And then at the very end, I would say, go to $1millionaire-edit.com, which I will tell you to do. And that's kind of like the essential structure of a webinar. So it's trying to figure that out, like knowing when people are going to lose attention, knowing when people bounce away, when the offer, the big sales moment is happening, knowing all that is important going in. But you want to spend most of your time on this foundational stuff. That's why I say it's so important that just to get this core, the script, the main cut. So if you're editing a documentary, like the main cut, what the person is exactly saying. If you're doing a podcast, this is your A-roll. This is what you are saying in your podcast. Don't worry about the B-roll. Don't worry about what cool footage or clips or sound effects you're going to work on. Worry about the content. That's the most important. That's the A-roll right there. Then we go to music and pacing. So that's figuring out how fast or how we're going to transition from one scene to the next. So with a 45-minute webinar like this, we're talking, let's say every stock footage song is anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes. So you're looking at like, you need to choose like 10 songs. So for this, I had to be pretty loose with what kind of music I was going to choose. And we'll go into all this bit by bit. Then the third most important allocation of time is the B-roll, stock footage. This is the stuff that this adds layers. This adds dynamic. This adds visual emotion. So if you see someone running fast, or I'm talking about something scary, and I show you an image of something scary, then you feel scared. And then plus you add music, and then they add the content itself. That's like how you can add, how you're able to kind of push and prod emotions as an editor. But with all the B-roll, it was just going through, like I said, 5 years of footage, all the stuff I've made in the last 2 years and recorded in the last 2 years, and all the stuff that was made before I was the videographer here at Samcart, and all the stuff way beyond all that archival stuff. And then also, finding your stock footage and things like that. And then we move on to like the fourth and least important. This is like the top three here. That's like 98%. The graphics and animation at the top this is the last 2%. This is the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake. So it's not going to make or break, but it's going to add just a little bit more. Some people want 100% on their test. So if you want that, then you want the animations and the graphics. Some people are okay with 98%. And that's still an A+. Ted asks, is this live? It is live. Welcome. If you're watching this and you're just joining us, you can drop your questions here in the chat. I think the chat is working here on Discord and on YouTube. We've had people submit questions ahead of time, so we've got a little bit of Q&A. But if you're just joining, the first half we're going to walk through this edit, this 45-minute edit, and the last half we're going to do Q&A. So let's move on into step number 1. This is like chapter 1. This is the A-roll cut. This is the main content. This graphic shows it perfectly, taking it from just a big block all the way down into tinier and tiny bits that make sense, that are punchy, that take all the ums and ahs out, that take all the silence out. So it's going from, I'll show you here on Premiere. So it's going to something like, move my head out of the way. It's going to something like this, all the ums, all the space, all the gaps, taking this, chopping it down, and turning it into something like this. So for a 75 minutes of raw footage, this is Scott here talking on the teleprompter, reading the entire time. So what I'll do is I'll usually add color grading to this. I know people don't tell you not to color grade until the very end or to color grade to the very end. I color grade my main stuff at the beginning. I don't care. And then I'll also do all the audio effects as well. That way it's all attached to the file so that once I start chopping it, I don't have to go and add these effects to every single little clip. Or, you might forget, like how many times have I'll admit, how many times have I exported footage that had one little half second of ungraded footage? A lot of times, and it's embarrassing. So instead, I just color grade the entire thing, maybe turn off effects, save your computer's power, and then and that way you're never gonna have any ungraded footage. I go through all this, chop it down, but with something like this, 75 minutes of footage, this might be a 75-minute podcast that you just did. And that means you have to it's not going to take you 75 minutes to go through all this footage. It's going to take you, I say, at least double that. It might take you 3 hours, 150 minutes. It may take you much more time to go through this because you're having to start, stop, cut, slice. Even if you watch it at double speed, which I recommend. Like if you're going through 75 minutes of interviews or podcast video, watch it on double speed and just chop as you go. But I will add this. So switch to little slides over here. I found this. It's like it was the worst timing. I found this app at the end of this project, not at the beginning of the project. I wish I had found this app at the beginning of the project. It's called Silence Remover. If you've ever used Audacity, which is the like free audio podcasting software, there's like one effect in there called like truncate silence or remove silence. This is basically that effect. So you're able to, and how that effect works is it says, okay, go find me all the spots in this clip that are where the volume is under 30 decibels or under 50 decibels, where it's like basically pure silence. And find all that, make a cut, and cut it in half and shrink it together and scoot all the talking parts together. That's what this app can do inside of Premiere. So if you go to aescripts.com/silence-remover, I think it's like $50. Where has this been my entire life? But what you're able to do is I've got it here plugged in now. You take your clip, you convert it into an MP3 if you have a especially large clip like this. You drop the MP3 in here at the top, and it will analyze everything. It will go through and you say, hey, find me everything that is below 10% noise level. Give me at least a second of silence or 2 seconds of silence. And then you go through it, and it will say, okay, we found all these spots, and you say apply sequence, and it will automatically go through this 75-minute timeline. I did it just as a test. It will automatically go through the 75-minute timeline, and I did it in 5 minutes. It was able to find all the silent parts, highlight them yellow, and you say, okay, all the yellow parts, boop, just delete. And then it's I was like, where has this been my entire life? Okay, that's a little bit of a tangent. Something to speed up editing, especially if you're doing like long podcasts like this. Silence Remover. Check it out. What did Ted ask? Ted asked Q&A at the end of the yes, Q&A at the end. Or, I mean, dude, if you got a question, ask away. Like this, this isn't a super scripted show. If you got a question, go ahead and ask, my friend. All right, let's move on to step 0. Okay. So we had step 1. Step 1 was getting the A-roll done, getting just the cut done. So now it looks kind of like this. This is what your cut looks like, basically. Minus all the music down here at the bottom. You basically just have all the good takes, the good parts, nicely pieced together. So then you kind of take a step back. Depending on how your team is structured, I always kind of take a step back. So I like, what can I just get done today as an editor? And I will just go through and get it done. So chopping through all the A-roll, I don't need anyone's permission. I don't need to know about what this piece is. I don't need to know the strategy of the video. I just need to know that's a bad take, that's a good take, that's a bad take, that's a good take. Okay, ahs, oh, he messed up his line here, slice, remove. Like, that's all I need to know. So once I'm done with that, and maybe I add some music as just kind of a test subject, which we talked about in an earlier lesson, then I'm going to go back to step 0 and say, hey, what is this about? That's where I was like, okay, I can maybe hand over this rough cut to my boss or the marketer or your client, whomever, and then say, hey, what is this about? Like, so this is a webinar? What's a webinar? How does a webinar work? What are the structures of a webinar? Okay, what's the customer? What's the audience? This is where you start to ask all those marketing strategic questions to figure out what this project is about, to figure out where this is going to go. What kind of videos can we make out of this? Is this going to go on social media? Is this going to go on a private web page that's, only an ad will lead to? Like, they click on the ad, they go and watch this video. Okay, understanding that. And this is where I had this little graphic where it's, you're figuring out, work is like a hill. If you watch my previous YouTube videos, the concept is from the Basecamp guys, basecamp.com. Work is like a hill. The creative work, you kind of don't really know what this video is going to be, or what it could be, or what it's capable of becoming. So you kind of have to go up the hill, and you're kind of like figuring it out. So you're like, I'm chopping through 75 minutes of footage to make a 45-minute video, and I'm just kind of going through up the hill a little bit, trying to figure out what the hell this is about, figuring out what my client, what my boss is expecting, where is this going to live, understanding all of those components. And then as you kind of approach the top of the hill, you kind of figure out everything. Okay, this is how long it needs to be. This is the kind of footage I need to go out and get. This is the kind of, you start to you're building the grocery list in your head. And if this is, for example, like a podcast, like, okay, all right, we can make 5 clips out of this. All right, this sounded like a good highlights clip here. Oh, cool, this is a perfect TikTok video right here. That's when you start to figure out that kind of grocery list in your head. Okay, we need to go out and find this sound effect, this B-roll. I need to make this graphic, yada, yada, yada. That's when you're at the top of the hill. And then that's when you start to coast. So with a project like this, with a 45-minute webinar, having only basically 10 business days to do it, I spent a lot of the first couple days just figuring out what the hell this project is, where it's going to go, how we're going to do this, how is this even possible? Just figuring out the fence. Where is the fence? Where are my boundaries? How far can I go? How wide, how narrow is the scope of this project? This is a lot. I'm rambling a lot about this, but it's important to understand like where you are and where you're going, because then that can lead you to, boom, step number 2. And Ted had a question. Ted, what do you got? You said that people say to color correct at the end. You do it in the beginning. Why would someone wait until the end? Okay, so great question. We'll pause here and we'll switch over. We can handle this question. So yes, in proper film terms and proper filmmaking process, yes, you edit the video and you want to keep it raw and ungraded, because it's usually faster for your computer. If the video clip that you're working with has all these effects on it, it can slow your computer down, which could slow your playback down. And if you're working with 4K footage or big stuff like that, that can really slow down your computer. So if you don't have all the effects on it and all the color grading and all that stuff, then you can work a little faster. Your previews, your playback the speed is faster, the rendering is faster. But this computer is fairly tricked out. And I will usually work on, you turn this little button right here, it says Global FX Mute on Adobe. You can just say, turn off all effects. I don't want to see any effects. And that will save your power. But like I said, if this clip right here, I apply just one color grade application to it, one layer, that's fine. That means every time I cut into this and slice it and drag it around and move it around, that it's not going to get messed up, or it's not going to lose the color grade. Because what could happen is, and like I've done it plenty of times, imagine if you had to go in and color grade. I've done this. You have to go color grade all of these little clips down here, every single one, and don't miss a single one. And it's tough because make sure you don't, because you're just kind of going through copy paste the entire thing, hoping you don't miss a clip or add double color grades on top of each other and one has no grading. That could be one reason. Then Ted, you asked can you use proxies to help with this? Yes, of course, absolutely. I don't usually do proxies, but I'm lazy. So if you're not lazy and you want to go through the proxy process, 100% go through the proxy process. I've been forced to use a proxy because some footage was just too big. I had to use a proxy. But yeah, proxies can totally help. Okay, I think that answered the question, but keep them coming. If you got questions, guys, drop them in the chat. I think the Discord is working. I try to figure out how to connect Restream here with Discord and the YouTube channel. I think it's working, but oh yeah, it's coming in. So yeah, if you got a question and you're on Discord, you can chat in the general channel and it will come into this chat. And I do my own sound effects. Okay, moving back over to step number 2. So we've done We went to step 1, we went to step 0, now we're at step 2, music and pacing. So with music and pacing, this is figuring out how fast, how slow. With a webinar like this, we're selling. At the very end, we're selling. So the idea is I need to keep people very engaged. I need to hook them in the first part. So I need to add some if I need to hook them and grab their attention, okay, that's a mental note of the kind of music that I could grab in the first part. Then it's okay. Now we have 45 minutes to entertain these people. We got to keep them around until the very end. And then at the very end is the sales pitch, essentially. Hey, here's all the bonuses. Here's all the stuff that you get. And so that's part we need to entertain them too. We need to hype them up a little bit. So that's another mental note. With a piece like this, 45 minutes, like I said earlier, that a stock music is 3 to 5 minutes long. Sometimes it's 2 minutes long. So you got to find, so I didn't exactly have the luxury for this project to get to choose whatever I want or go to music or premiumbeat.com and find just the one song that is so nice. I use something like Artlist. You can use something like Soundstripe. These are the unlimited download stock music and footage libraries that you can just download as many as you want. So that's what I did. I probably downloaded like 30 songs and used 10. That's just kind of how it works. And that's kind of the beauty of it. You can kind of test it out. Use this. This sounds good. This sounds not, whatever. So, but you're trying to think about how are you going to pace this? If it's hyped up, dynamic, emotional, what are you trying to make these people feel at a certain moment in the video? In the first 5 minutes of this video, I'm trying to get you excited, hooked, like you are glued to this, because the longer I get you to stick around, if you just stick around 1 minute longer, 5 minutes to the 6 minute mark, then that probably exponentially increases my chances of you sticking around to the very end, to the 45 minute mark where we reveal the bonus. Because if you don't stick around to the very end, then we don't make the sale. So that's like thinking like a marketer. That's thinking like how this project's going to work. So if you're thinking about your own stuff, like what kind of music and pacing can you create in your YouTube videos, or can you create in your video podcast clips, or your tutorial videos, or your commercials, or your About Me videos that can keep people hooked? That can, this music, I can't put my finger on this music or why it makes me feel this way, but I feel a certain way about this when I'm watching this video, and I feel a certain way about the character in this video. Just how it is. So it's just starting to think more like that. So I even have music here there's music in this live stream. Add a little music, just kind of keeps it lively. Just kind of keeps it going. So with something like this, I'm having to figure out, I'm almost having to act like a DJ, and I did some DJing in college. So that's kind of helped me mentally. But if you're not familiar with the DJ arts, the DJ arts, then, you have to kind of, for a 45-minute piece like this, you have to kind of blend it. If you're going to make a longer piece and you're going to have multiple scenes, multiple emotions, multiple chapters, if you will, you have to figure out how to kind of blend this, because you don't want it to just abruptly start and then new song starts again. You want to kind of match the beat, match the pacing. So then, so you kind of want to make it flow, make it blend. So, just adding your keyframes, adding your your fade ins, fade out. You kind of want to fade it out before, fade it down below, and you want to make it blend together, because that also will affect the pacing. That'll also affect the tempo. It will make you just kind of check out. Or if I stop, it's like if you imagine if you were dancing on the dance floor and I just stop the song in the middle of this, and you just you would kind of realize oh wait, I'm dancing, I'm in the middle of the dance floor, and the music just stops, and you kind of have this self-aware moment. So we don't want that. We don't want that for our audience. We want them to be totally immersed in the video, watch it the entire time, so that they're just, okay, just give me the next song, give me the next information, give me the beat. That's all I want. All right, let's move on to step number 3. And any questions? Ted, what are we asking? It says waiting there and to join through your channel. Okay. All right, no problem. Okay. So then we move on to step number 3, B-roll and stock footage. And folks, if you're just joining, we're doing a Q&A towards the very end, but if you have any questions right now, you can drop it here in the chat. You can drop it if you're on Discord. You can drop it in the general channel that is at the very top section, general channel, and drop your chat questions there, and it will filter into this section here. we're talking about how to edit this 45-minute webinar, and we're on step number 3. So this is the B-roll and stock footage section. This is where, like I said, this is not as important as your A-roll or the music. This is the third most important allocation of your time. But I can move this over here. But this graphic right here shows it. I love this graphic right here. This is the linear visual representation of what you have to do with B-roll and stock footage. You kind of have to, with a project like this, it was 5 years of B-roll. So it was all the footage that I've recorded in the last 2 years here working at Samcart, and it's all the footage that Brian and Scott and previous freelancers and other videographers recorded at Samcart, and all the stuff way back in the back, that like the origin story of Samcart. So like all of this footage has like compounded and all is just kind of brought to my table, just like they just scooted it all onto my editing desk. Like, okay, here's all the footage that we have, and here's all the footage that we need to go into this video here. As an editor, the most important thing you can do low-key, the low-key most important thing you can do when you're working in a project is to become very familiar with your footage. And I think it goes, I don't know if it's like unspoken, but it's like the more familiar you are with your footage, the better you're able to think about your piece. You're better able to, it's like a painter having, you know, all the colors on, what do they call it? Like the palette, you know. You got your red oil paints and your blues and your greens and your black and white. What if you had all these colors, but you were only aware of just the red and the black on your palette, and you didn't know about all the greens and blues and yellows? That's a lack of becoming familiar with the B-roll footage that you have. So by going through, you don't have to watch everything. You don't have to watch it frame by frame, but just understanding what your footage, what is in that footage bin, and how can I use it, and are these good shots, and can I use these shots? And you're not thinking of it in the moment of, could I use this shot? You're just sort of taking, like, the back of your brain is just kind of taking a tally of, could I use this shot? Okay, this is interesting. That's a good shot. That's interesting. And you're just kind of making a little mental note as you go subconsciously. And you're becoming more and more familiar. But this is like the visual representation here with this graph. Is like you're going to go down this kind of rabbit hole where you feel like, oh my God, I am so lost. I've watched so much of this B-roll. I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. This stock footage, this archival stuff. You just feel this like dark pit that you go into that you're like, I don't even know where I am anymore. And then, but as you become more and more familiar with it, you hit this inflection point where you start to become more familiar with the footage. You become really intimate with the footage, where you know this clip does this, or how a wide shot, medium close shot, like all that stuff. You start to like you're slowly building up this mental bank of all the stuff. Like, hey, I've got this in my head, and that's where you start to accelerate kind of out of it, and that's where you can start to go into your timeline, and that's where you just start. You're not even thinking about the B-roll anymore. It's like you're just laying bricks. That's all you are. You're not thinking about how the house is going to be built. At that point, you're so familiar with the B-roll, you just go, this goes here, I know this here, boom, 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 and you're just laying bricks. That's all you are. You're just laying bricks. So that's when it starts to turn into something like this, where you can really start to figure it out. Like, you start to become familiar with this stuff. And, this is where I talk about, like, some of this stuff is old. Some of this stuff is like graphics that I've made. This is like, if you work at a company, you start to, this was kind of funny. I thought of this earlier, that you kind of create, there's stock footage, and then there's like internal company stock footage. So like, this is Samcart stock footage that I recorded and that we just have, and I just use it over and over on every project. So if you're working at a company and you just have a moment to record some cinematic looking stock footage of the owner, of you, of the, like, I did it for like the Perfect Wedding Package, which was like an old course that I had. I recorded myself out walking on the sidewalk and like reading a book and like scribbling and drawing graphs and making plans. And that was just like my stock footage. So it's like, maybe that's something to think about too. Like, if you create your own stock footage, of you, your talent, your company, your employees, whoever, or you, the founder, whoever it may be. And that way you have it to, because nobody else is going to have that stock footage. And this is especially important because, like, that's the co-founder right there. Boom. And it's like, oh, hey, that's the co-founder. It's like, and it's cinematic stock footage that you can blend in with actual, just regular boring stock footage. So But as I'm thinking about this right here, this is the first 5, like we talked about with the webinar, I'm thinking about how are we going to hook these people in the first 5 minutes of the video? How are we going to keep people glued to the screen? How are we going to, because the more that you watch, the more likely you are to watch to the very end. So like I'm thinking about cuts, and more like how much footage can we jam into this? How much, we're talking about animations and graphics here. We're like, how much of all this stuff that I can just jam into this video that's going to make people excited watching it. It's dynamic. Oh, what was that? Like barely able to like register what they're watching and just layering on the B-roll. But it's knowing that I have all this B-roll and knowing what it looks like and how I can manipulate it. That's what makes you faster. So the only tip I can say for something like this in the talking about this section of B-roll and stock footage is become familiar with it. Understand what you got, and that's going to help you move way, way faster. If you're just joining, if you're just watching this right now, yes, this is live. You can drop your questions here in the chat. You can drop it in the Discord channel. I think if you're watching it on YouTube, you can watch it. You can drop it in the YouTube chat. But ask your questions. Well, we also have a couple questions that were submitted, and we'll hit those at the very end. All right, so let's move on to step number 5. Step number 5, graphics and animations. We're already kind of talking about it. But like I said, graphics and animations are the last 2% of your project. This is not going to make or break your project. If this webinar right here had no graphics and animations, it would be a 98%. It would be an A+, no matter what. This is the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake. It's not necessary, but it can make your videos that much way cooler. Let's be honest. So something like this, we started out, boom, transition. You can get that like a that's a VFX lights. I think it's called like warp transition. I can't make that. I don't know how to make that. Just buy it and slap it onto your video. Boom. And that's probably what will be the recurring theme of all these graphics that I'll show you. Even this graphic right here. Save your time. Do not try to animate all this from hand. Don't try to figure out how these advanced After Effects bros made this stuff. Just go buy their stuff. Just go, or if you have an Envato Elements subscription, that's a great place to start. Just like lower third template. Download it, throw it into Premiere, throw it into DaVinci, throw it wherever you want it to go, and don't worry about like trying to animate all this stuff from scratch. Just all you need to do is just edit the text, edit the color, edit the font, and let the animation masters do the rest. Well, something like this. So like, but there's also like pre-made templates that you can use. So like this one that says like Scott Moran, I use this all the time in a Samcart video. It's useful. It's in the right font. It's in the right branding. And yeah, see, same here. Same graphics, turn off notifications, and the one that says Scott, it's lagging a little bit. But that's the same graphic, I just changed the text. That's all it did. Another one you could do, and I think the only actual animation I did was something in this section right here. So, like I said, it's not going to make or break your video. If you don't have animations and graphics on your video, it's fine. If there were no it's not going to make or break your video. But for something like this, it's nice for, especially a 45-minute video, always to add an agenda. What can I expect in this video? So this was our kind of like ESPN version of like, here's what to expect. Here's what's going to happen in this video. Here are the chapter markers, think like an old DVD menu, and just something to kind of add a little bit of, interesting. Just a little bit more spice to the screen. But like I said, this is where you spend the least amount of your time. Outsource as much as you can, buy templates as much as you can, buy presets as much as you can, or download them with an Envato subscription. Do not waste your time trying to build all this stuff by hand. Okay, and if you are trying to build any of it by hand, like that ESPN graphic, I found this. This is aescripts.com/keyfast. This is another like plugin to After Effects. If you're an After Effects user, I'm always like just bringing things up and bringing things down. And this was a quick way to just do it like in 5 seconds. Saved me so much time. What would normally take me 60 seconds to animate like something that would come up and come down, I just did in 5 seconds with this one button. So KeyFast, another plugin that I wish I had before this project. But moving on. Step number 5. Tidy up and ignore it. So at the very, this is technically cut 2, but it's really cut 1 over here. This is where you get everything together. You feel like you've gone through this. It's now day 10, day 9, day 8 of this video. You've seen it so many times. You've watched this footage so many times over and over and over that sometimes it just helps to get it cleaned up, export it, and ignore it. Just back away. That is the underrated thing you can do. It's like like editing an essay. Like you are so, as the writer, you are so deep into this essay that you just cannot see the misspelled word in the first sentence, but you just have somebody, you hand it off, have somebody review it, give you some notes, give you some feedback, and then you're like, oh, and then you come back to it fresh. I've taken the whole weekend off. So I finished this on Friday. Today is Monday. Today Monday? Yeah, today's Monday. So this is the first time I'm back into this project, looking at it and going, wow, okay, yeah, this is clearly messed up. We gotta fix this right here. Whereas before, I watched it 5 times in a row and would never have caught this error. Same thing can happen with podcasts. If you're editing a podcast, there's just some parts that you just totally missed, or like that's not a complete sentence, or that doesn't make any sense at all, or those two clips should not go together. You're just so deep into it that sometimes you just got to back away. Underrated tip, just ignore it, back away from your project. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up right there. So if you are a student of the $1 Million Edit, welcome. Happy to hear $1 Million Editors. Rock on. But if this is the first time you're watching this, or you join this, maybe you're in the Discord and you're not quite a student, or you're thinking about joining, head over to milliondollar-edit.com and join the workshop, join the course, get all the information, become a faster editor overnight. And there's plenty of $1 Million Editors in here and watching this video that will attest to the power of this web workshop, if I'm being braggadocious. Okay, let's get into the Q&A section. If you got Q&A questions, we'll answer them now. Drop it in the chat. But we did have some people submit their questions ahead of time, starting with, okay, first question. How do you create the highlighted captions? Okay, so if you saw me, first thing you probably saw of me was maybe an ad that said, like, how long did it take you to edit your videos? And you saw like the little kind of karaoke highlighted words flashing across the screen. That is actually a feature inside of Descript called Audiogram. So if you make a Descript video and you go hit export, there's an option that says Audiogram, and it creates this little karaoke footage looking, where like the text highlights word animation. And it's super helpful, super engaging. And it's a great way you can use it as a standalone piece if you have like a podcast clip that you want to share out on social media. Or like I did with an ad, it's great for social media ads, social media content where you can kind of blend it in with actual footage. So I could be talking, you see my talking head, and then boom, we cut to the highlighted captions. That's what it's called. It's called Audiogram inside of Descript. Check it out. Next question. Going from free to paid editing software. Okay, I'm guessing like, what do I do? Okay, so if you're on free editing software right now, maybe you're in, I've had people ask me like, hey, do you use Filmora? Or I'm on iMovie, or what was the other free one? Oh, maybe you're like on CapCut on your phone, which I love CapCut if you're editing on your phone for TikTok. Or Film Express, I've heard as well. But, if you're, make sure we're still streaming to YouTube. Let me double check. I'm getting an error message. Are we still streaming? We still live over here? All right, cool. All right, sweet. Still streaming. Okay, so make sure the error isn't coming through. No? Okay. Yeah, Descript. D-E script. Descript. Descript. I think someone was asking how to spell Descript. Descript. Okay. Oh, the chat's not going through on YouTube, but it is going through on Discord. Okay, so if you're missing the chat, or if I'm not seeing the chat, it's on Discord. So if you're on Discord and you want to chat and have the YouTube video up at the same time, totally possible. Okay, free to paid software. The first paid one that makes me think of is Descript. That is an awesome editing software. If you watch the latest update they had, I just applied to get into their beta program. Descript is coming for your jobs. Descript's coming for my job. Let's say that. A traditional video editor, they're coming for my job. Okay, they're gonna take my job. It's amazing. The software. If you're not familiar with Descript, it's a kind of originally started out as a transcription software, but you're able to throw your video clip in there. Let me get a little bigger so you guys can see me. You're able to throw your video clip in there, and then it transcribes your video word for word, and then you're able to edit your video the same way you would edit a Word document. So you just see all the, it will find all the ums and ahs in your piece, and then you just say, okay, delete, control find all ums and ahs and remove, and it'll remove all those clips, put it together, and it's not bad. It is pretty good. Descript's great, and it's also good for if you want to do, like we said, those if you're into captions, which I'm going to work on. That's my next course, is to create some kind of captions video, show you guys how to use that in Descript. But captions are huge. If you want to do captions for your social media, for YouTube, I might even do a caption for this video itself. Throw it in Descript, add some closed captions down below. Not have to think about it, and now you got like a little bit more of engagement, because it's so much more engaging to have. If you ever watch TikTok videos, put freaking captions in it so I can read the captions and watch the video at the same time. Other paid versions, not quite paid but still free, is DaVinci Resolve. If I was starting from scratch, if I had, my brain was wiped as an editor, I would get DaVinci Resolve and I would use DaVinci Resolve. It's so much less of a headache than Adobe. Everything you hate about Adobe Premiere, all the crashing and the weird antics that come with Adobe Premiere, not over in DaVinci Resolve. So you can get the free version. It is like, dude, it's like 95% of everything you need. It's not like they don't hold you back. I think they hold you back if you want to export like ultra high premium footage that is like, ProRes 444, 4K, Ultra HD, 12-bit color. But if you just want to do like 1080p MP4s that go to YouTube, good to go. Rock and roll. But even if you did buy the software, it's $500 for like a flat fee. That's it. There's no subscription. Recommend it. And if you buy a Blackmagic camera, you get a free DaVinci Resolve software. I think. I don't know. Check it out. Learn about it. Other paid software, of course, there's Adobe Premiere, which we're talking here right now. It's the dark side. You can come to the dark side of Adobe Premiere. I've been using it since I was a kid. So I feel like I'm stuck with it, but I like it like a bad boyfriend. All right. Okay. Next question. I think it's our last question. Okay. Talk a little bit more about Hook Story Offer. Okay. Let me take a sip of water. And folks, if you have questions, I don't think it is coming through on YouTube. I think the chat connection got disconnected. Let me double check one more time before we answer this question. I want to say it did not go through if you're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube and you're chatting right now, chat, make sure it works. But we got a few people watching. I think... Oh, of course, the internet's slow because I'm live streaming right now, of course. Okay, there it goes. Oh, okay. Okay. Alejandro asked a question. Oh, Ted asked a question. All right. What is something you wish you knew earlier about editing? Okay. What I wish I knew earlier about editing is... Ooh, that's a good question. Here, let me grab this question. Yeah, sorry, folks. The YouTube connection is not working. So if your question was asked, I didn't hit. All right. So let's go back. We won't answer this question. Screw this guy for a second. All right. What is something you wish you knew earlier about editing? That's a great question. I wish I knew more about... It has just seemed like in the last 3 or 4 years, I've learned truly about marketing and how it works with social media. I used to think just like edit like a great film editor, like in Hollywood, and that will make you a better editor. No, turns out to be that you can... I wish I knew how to edit more like a marketer, like a social media person, so that I could make better social media content so that I could stick out more on social media. That's what I wish I knew earlier. Not so much about like... Yeah, I'm like trying to think like, did I want to know about like the business side of it or like my career? maybe not. Mostly just like the marketing stuff, because this is the stuff that has actually made money. This is the stuff that's actually pushed my career in the right direction, not just like scraping from job to job. Okay, Alejandro asked the question. Oh no, okay, the link didn't work. Oh, that sucks. For the Luma. Yeah, the Luma link didn't exactly work. So Alejandro, thanks for being here. Or if you were here, thanks. All right. Oh, that sucks. All right, I'll have to figure that out. So next time we can get people to watch this truly. But I think it's like it says it's public on my YouTube channel, and I'll probably make it unlisted after this. And if you are just watching this right now, the question is yes, you can watch the replay of this. We can watch the live stream later in the course library that you can check out. Okay, back to this question. Talk a little bit more about hook story offer, and that's kind of like, actually that kind of ties into what Ted was asking. Talk a little bit more about hook story offer. We'll get this question out of here. Okay, so hook story offer, if you're not familiar with it, it is a concept that was coined. Well, it's not so much a concept, but the hook story offer was coined by Russell Brunson. Russell Brunson's a digital marketer. He's the guy who created ClickFunnels. It's a digital marketing software. It's like a e-commerce platform. It's kind of like Samcart. Hook story offer is essentially the three major components of a great story, or a compelling piece of content, or a book, or a movie, or an ad that you watch, or even a tweet or something. Like basically, like a great piece of content contains these three elements, or contains these three elements in the right order, in the right way, and at the right quality. So the hook obviously is something that gets people's attention, something that hooks people in, that gets them to stop watching something else, or to stop scrolling and pay attention to this. It does not have to pertain to the story. For an ad, like a Facebook ad, it could just be a question that just like grabs your attention for no reason, and now you're all of a sudden listening to this person like, what are they talking about? That's when you lead into the story. The story is the value. So like that, the story is the 80% chunk of the piece. So like what you're watching right now, this is the story. This is the value. This is the information. Whereas at the beginning, like we talked about in the course YouTube intro hacks. If you haven't got that course, go check it out. But we talk about that where it's like in the first 5 seconds of the first 10 seconds of a video, you want to hook somebody, get them in there, because your story, the information that you deliver, does not matter if people cannot make it to this point. If they cannot make it to like just the point of, if they can't make it past the hook, then they're not going to listen to the story. So the story is the value, that's the information. And then towards the end is the offer. Now the offer doesn't have to pertain to something paid. The offer can just be some kind of call to action that you're pushing, and you're manipulating your audience into doing something. So it doesn't have to be like, hey, buy my course. It could just be go to this webpage, or subscribe, or hey, if you like this video, hit the like button, or if you want to leave a comment. Those are all part of the offer. That is all like so because with content, with the story, you want them to do something next. You don't want your content to be a dead end. You don't want this to be, thanks for watching, boom, stop. That's it. You want them to, what's next? What can I do next? How can I binge more? What's the next movie I can watch? The Netflix keep watching. All of these are offers that lead someone into the next piece of whatever it is that you want them to do. So if you want them to go buy your course, you hook them with something, you tell them a little bit of information about the course, and then you tell them what to do next. You're basically telling people what to do next. So if you're editing content and you're a video editor and you're trying to think more about hook story offer, in terms of like this webinar or an ad or a social media clip or a podcast clip, whatever it may be, how do you get someone to stop scrolling? That's the first checklist that you have. Are you delivering something interesting, a piece of insight, something funny, something entertaining? That's your story part. And then are you getting them to do something next? Are you getting them to subscribe, like, comment, share, click here, download now? What is next? What do they do next? Always be doing those. And then as you go to, you may want them to watch the next video, and video number 2 has a hook story offer. And then you want them to go to your website, and your website has a hook story offer. So it's always you're just moving them from one piece of hook story offer, one bundle of hook story offer to the next, to the next, to the next, over and over. So like as an editor, you need like to be aware of these things and to be conscious of these things will make you stand out, will make you create awesome content that moves the needle, pushes you forward, pushes your career forward, impresses your clients, by understanding this. So it's vitally important. Okay, let's check YouTube one more time. And if you have any other questions, I will take them in the Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord, I said discard already. What am I, Irish? I'll put a link here. Put a link in the chat. See if that works. Not to YouTube. Okay, YouTube is not connected. Amazing. But that's fine. Let's go back over here. Get this out of here. Yeah, that's going to wrap up the show. So let me drop it in the chat. If you have any other questions, go to the Discord channel, join the Discord, ask the questions there. If you're in the $1 Million Edit channel, you can talk to me there. I'll give you some one-on-one piece of advice. If you have not bought or joined the $1 Million Edit, go to milliondollar-edit.com and download the workshop, and you'll be able to get replays like this, live trainings like this. And if you like these kind of live trainings, I'm thinking about doing these maybe once a month, maybe twice a month. Just to kind of like keep you guys up to date, keep the content fresh, and keep delivering something amazing inside that course library back there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll do last call for questions. We'll see if we got any. And like I said, if you thought of a question later after watching this, just DM me on Discord. Okay, no questions. Cool, great, guys. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Jordan Anderson. And I'll see you guys on the next one.